Hello there, everybody. How you all doing here at Ballin with Bill here? And great to have you here. And thank you, Sideline Power, for another week of Ballin with Bill. Anyway, we've got a fine gentleman here today that's from a school close by in Louisville here in Nebraska. Been a head coach there since 2016. 8 years being an assistant coach, and then finally getting the head coach opportunity, and has done a good job bringing these kids around and getting this program started there. I want to welcome Chase Rasby. Excuse me, Chase Rasby from Louisville, Nebraska. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here.
That's awesome. Well, so we always like to start off, kind of give me the history, how you got into football, kid-wise, or how you did it, and then how you ended up evolving to be football coach.
Okay. I grew up in Sutherland, Nebraska. It's a small town on the interstate, about 20 miles west of North Platte. I grew up in Sutherland's a football town. My elementary principal was Bill McAllister, and he was a fantastic football coach. Then he went to Concordia. Bill.
Yeah, I coached against Bill when I was at Dan. He was the offensive coordinator there at Concordia there. Holy cow, small world.
Yep. So he was my elementary principal, and so I was, having somebody like that as a growing up in an elementary, principal, you just drawn to it automatically. And he was a phenomenal person and phenomenal coach. And when I actually got to high school, I had Brendan Cool, who's now the head coach at Kearney High School.
Yeah, he's done a nice job there.
Oh, yeah, yep. And so I had him for a couple of years. And then I finished with Chris Gardner, who's now the athletic director at Colby, Kansas. And he's a product of Millard North. So I started running, veer with Coach Cool. And then we really got into veer and mids and with Coach Gardner, who's product from Miller North, so we started with that stuff. And then I went to Shadron, and I was recruited by Bill O'Boyle, who was the offensive coordinator. Brad Smith was the head coach. Yep.
Brad, those guys are old friends of mine.
Yep, Brad Smith,
Bill Boyle,
great. Bill O'Boyle is a phenomenal.
Great line coach.
Yeah, the old Silverbacks. I don't know if you ever saw
yes,
the old
I've
Silverbacks.
Seen, the Silverbacks. Yeah.
Phenomenal, and then he became head coach while I was there.
Right.
And a guy that you'll run through the wall for. He cares about you, and he's gonna fight for you, and literally or figuratively. He's just very, very, very intense. And I've actually played defense, so my defense coordinator was Todd Auer, who's now at Western State, and my defensive back coach is Jazz Baines, who's the head coach there at Western State.
Yeah,
so
he went over there when everything changed over with Chaz.
Yep, and so very, 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 very lucky to have all those guys who are now even bigger. Bill's Coach O'Boyle's at Akron now and is the O-line coach at Akron.
O-line coach there at Akron,
at Golden Flashes. So
Chaz
he's
has
doing
been there for a while now at Western State. He's been there about 7-8 years.
Yeah, yep. He's done, and he's he kind of had some for a while there they weren't so hot, but he's kind of turned that around too. And with Coach Auer and
they got some newer facilities too.
Yes, they did. They got some upgrades.
Getting old there.
Yep. So that's kind of through college, and then Louisville was my first stop, and
that was the first thing.
Yep. So that's I've only been teaching in Louisville. Yep. I came in, was head track right away because I did track in Shadron as well, and I got there and was head track, and football's always been my love, but there's a lot to learn. You don't know that. Coming out of college, you think, oh my God, look how much I know. Right. And then you get to actually being a coach and you're like, I know nothing. I didn't know that. You just don't know what you don't know.
I remember when I played, I thought I knew everything.
That's right.
Then you get into a coaching thing, and back then we did it with a 16 millimeter film. Had to tape everything a lot so we make our cut ups. That's how you started. And you get in there with Coach Buddha and Pecoraro, and you're like going, man, I didn't know poop.
Yeah.
I played all these years. I didn't have a clue.
But I've been fortunate. I've had some great coaches. Some big names that a lot of people know. Bob Fuller was there.
Well, tell us a little bit about Bob Fuller, because I've known Bob too. He's been at more coaching, been head coach than more than anybody I know.
I guarantee
he's a character. Bob's a good man.
Go to his house and talk football with him. Oh my God, he's got so many great stories, and you can have a good time just hanging out and talking football with Bob. Yeah. And we did that a lot of hours, too many hours probably.
Because he was at Plattsmith before he came to Louisville.
Yep, Plattsmith, and then Louisville, and then Auburn, and so, God, he's really, really fun. Stories, he could go on for hours. I mean, you could waste a whole entire day listening to stories.
Oh yeah.
So I got a lot of tutelage from him, and then I got to work with Coach Long, who's now at Millard South as the offensive
He
coordinator.
was at Miller South before he went there. Yes.
Yep, Millard South, and then Elkhorn South, and then he was at Westland for a little bit, and then he came to Louisville. And we had
and he's a great offensive mind.
oh man, one of the best offensive minds. It seemed, sometimes you don't have all the guys that you need to run, an offense like that, and we had some real good guys. We just didn't have enough of them.
Right.
But a lot of times it felt like he was playing chess while a lot of people were playing checkers. He was running plays in games just to set up another play 2 or 3
Right.
weeks.
He's
You know
really
what I
good
mean?
at that.
Just, he's very, 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 I didn't even know that people did that. I just thought they ran what they ran, and he was just running stuff to get it on film, just so you have
see
to
what you do.
Yeah.
Kind of get an
Yeah.
idea, then change
Yeah.
it up. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was really
So,
good at making
very
tactical
good.
changes
Very
during the
good.
ball game.
Yep, and just one of the best offensive minds. So those two, I mean, Bob with the flex bone, and then Coach Long with the spread stuff and power read and all that, just a lot of fun. And then I got to work with Coach Tyler Zahn, who
Known
at
Tyler a long
Ralston,
time. Very good defensive coach.
Very,
he was
very
a good
good.
player at Nebraska
Yeah,
too.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So, and he's got good stories too. And,
Oh, yeah.
And
I used to go recruit his kids over when I was at Dan at Ralston, and
sure.
we'd sit there. And I wouldn't get out of there because he'd start telling me stories, and I'd tell him some. And
Oh, yeah.
Before you know it, I missed my dang next
Yep.
meeting. I had to reschedule the
yeah,
following
yeah.
day.
But very good defense, and just reminds people that you can still be old school in a lot of ways, even with all the new stuff. Even
Yeah.
with all the new stuff that you want to do, let's not forget that there's a lot of stuff that can just be old school and tough and gritty and get your hands dirty and it'll work.
Right.
And there was a lot of those conversations that we had about, there's a lot that you can just do and just they're going to try to do this. Well, let's just do this, and they have to react rather than you having to react to them. So I've been that list, is just, I feel very, very lucky, and I hope to honor it, as they did for me. So I feel very lucky, with all those great minds that I got to come work with. So
Now, with all that back, because you do have, I didn't realize you were at Chadron too.
yeah, yeah.
And that you were there when they were. When that
Yes,
was,
yeah. So I was there
the
with
golden years.
Woodhead and
What a
Joe
special talent
McLean
that
and-
young man
oh
was.
gosh, yes. And so Bus, I've known him forever because we grew up 20 miles apart. So runs the Bison basketball teams and the West All-Star game, and so I've known Danny for a long time, and he was one of the reasons that I really kind of looked at Chadron, because I didn't really know a whole lot about Chadron. And when I was on my recruiting trip at the same time he was, and when he was like, when he
he's gonna work
committed,
back.
yeah, and he committed, that when I was there, and it made me step back and be like, this thing is going to be for real. And so
Yeah,
we
because
actually,
at that time, Bill Callahan, I think, was the head coach. He just offered him to walk on.
yeah, yep. And so they made the switch that year. Our senior year was when they made the switch, and it was a great decision for me. It was phenomenal. We at our highest peak, we were number 2 in the nation. And it was offense and defense. We just had a whole bunch of Wyoming, South Dakota, Colorado,
Right.
and Nebraska boys that just wanted to play football and had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
And we were hard nosed and we fought and we followed our coaches, Coach Hauer and Coach O'Boyle, and we were exactly like them. We were just going to fight until the end of it. And
You guys did, and he was. Well, he made a miss in the NFL. I mean, that's how good he was.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
Nebraska did not scholarship
Yeah,
that young
yeah.
man. And I watched him as a sophomore in the state championship against my nephew, against Millard
yeah, yeah.
West, and they had a hard time. And he was just a sophomore.
Yeah.
But they beat him in it. But it was tough because you could see back then that kid had. I mean, he just had great balance and
Yeah.
ability to
Yeah.
make you miss. And then, how Nebraska didn't go after him and let him go there was just. Of course, they missed on Gail Sayers too.
Well,
so what
sure,
can you
yeah,
say?
yeah. I there was a lot of pro scouts there our senior year, and he made us defensive backs look stupid quite a bit of times, right in front of those pro scouts. So we knew we didn't have a shot, but we like to think we helped him out a lot.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
He could move in.
I don't
and
know
move
how
out
he did.
and
He
move
just
in,
had great. If he just saw it ahead of time,
yeah.
or what deception he had, but because he was a 4.65, 4.7. He wasn't real fast.
I mean, he was quick. He could get
move
there.
He could move
get
that
there.
way. Yeah.
And acceleration and just his eyes and just knowing the game. What somebody would have to study a week for, he could just get in 2 days. And not that he didn't work hard.
He was a good blocker. And
yeah.
I mean, you
Good-
watch the NFL.
cut
They put
blocks.
him on third
Oh,
downs. He
man.
was.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see him in person, you think, how the heck? But he gets on the field, he play 10 feet tall.
Oh yeah. Yep. He's a great person. I mean,
he is.
everybody sees
Woodhouse
this,
is a good guy. He is.
But
I
he's
agree.
just a phenomenal human being.
I agree.
Does all the right things. Is somebody that you would want your family to be around. And he's just a really, really good person.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, so all that background,
Yeah.
what did you do to build your philosophy once you take over at Louisville?
Well, I just stole. I stole from everybody I'd worked with. The biggest thing I think when you're starting a new team is weight room, and we're still fighting
You know
with
how many
that.
coaches say that?
Yeah, I know.
I still believe it too.
But to be honest, one of the last conversations I had before I took over was actually from a coach who's Dan Keiser, who was at Cambridge and is now the superintendent at Sutherland. And I was back home at Sutherland, and I actually had a conversation with him, and that's one of the things he said is weight room. And so we're still it's one of those things that you have to make sure you have a culture in there, and it has to be competitive.
Yeah.
It just can't be in they got to want to be in there, and they got to want to throw around weight, and not just just trying to just get big and bulk and just meathead it, but just they want to be competitive, they want to be explosive, they want to be powerful, all that stuff. And I think the foundation starts there. And I really think we're really starting to gain some ground there. It was a fight for a while. We have to fight. There's other coaches and other entities in there that you just have to make sure that you get everybody on board.
Yeah.
And that is number one, and that's where we had to start is doing that. And then the other thing that I really tried to do, and I didn't in my first years as an assistant, but when I took over head coach, I started getting involved in the youth stuff. Because that's at a small town, like Louisville, that's going to build my program.
Yeah, you're right.
And so I got in with the youth coaches and the youth football association, and I'm a big part of that now. I'm in there talking to the coaches and in there helping them fundraise and all of that. And I think that's the other big thing is you have to get them started and then form those relationships, like relationship. If I can get those kids out, and that's one of those things is Louisville was struggling when I first got there, 12 years ago. They were struggling to get kids out. The first week of practice, my first year there, we had 18 kids. And,
really?
Yep. And we finally got some more once school started, but
Right.
it's mandatory practice, and you had 18 kids. And so forming relationships with the kids and starting them when they're fourth, fifth, sixth grade. If they know who you are and you know who they are, and you can form that relationship, by the time they get to high school, that bedrock has already started. So then they already know that you care. They already know that you're there for them. Now let's start building the football player and then start building, the better relationship and build the man and build them outside of the game as well, on the other side. And those are the two things that I've been working my hardest at is, building the weight room and then building those relationships with beyond just high school kids. I got to know every junior high football player. I got to know every sixth grade football player. Because if I don't, then how are they forming a relationship, and how do I know that I'm going to get them when they get to high school? So that's the groundwork, I think.
And those are important. Now, do you use track to help you with that too? Or
Absolutely,
no?
yeah, absolutely.
So how many kids do you got that do both football and track that you really try to? Because that's another way to build up your off season too.
Yeah,
because you don't have spring ball in Nebraska.
No spring ball. And they just feed each other. But I think almost all of them. I mean, I bet we have somewhere close to the 90s that go. Whoever I have out for football,
that's really
they
good.
go out for track.
That's
I
good.
mean,
that
some of them will get a little bit
tremendously.
more push.
Why?
Some of them get a little bit more push. But it's something that I think speed is if we can get them faster and
it helps you transfer that strength room to the weight room to the field with that speed.
Absolutely. And we do weights in the morning, so they aren't going to say, well, I'm going to lift after school. No, we're going to lift as a team, or we're going to do this the right way, and we're going to do it all together.
Right.
And we do workouts in the morning for football, and then we'll do sprint workouts in the afternoon. And we're not putting anybody in long distance that's going to be a football player. For the most part, it's sprinters, it's throwers, it's jumpers. And if you work the speed and those jumps and the fast twitch muscle, and
Right.
you're gonna build some athletes. And that's kind of where it's got to start. I got to have an athlete, and then I can turn him into a football player, kind of a thing. So we're gonna
You
build.
can transfer if you could get that going.
Yeah.
All right, now I didn't realize you had two different, because I knew you were Trevor Long, but I didn't realize all the pass because of Bob, and he runs a triple, and then Miller North.
Yeah.
So how do you combine that? What do you do offensively to combine that to make sense to your football players? What do you do? What's your plan?
That is exactly what we have kind of turned it into. We run basically a pistol flex bone.
Okay.
And so we love, actually we got a lot of the flex bone stuff that we really do now. Coach Earl at Lincoln Christian was having a summer camp with Kenny Wheaton and Kevin Chisholm, who are from Harding. and Wheaton is like one of the originators of the mid dub and mid trip. He's down in Texas in the early '90s, and he was playing like Plano, and they were trying to run veer and they couldn't because that athlete right there in the 3. So they're like, well, we can't run veer. Let's try, let's build a new play. And so they run mid. So actually, I talked to Coach Earl and I said, hey, what if I give a donation to Lincoln Christian and you let me come to this camp and just hang out with you guys and take notes and all that stuff. And he allowed us to, me and my offensive coordinator Nick Bausch. So we went down there for 3 days and phenomenal experience. Those coaches at Lincoln Christian, just really, really good coaches. Not beyond, they're awesome people and they're really good coaches. And they were very, very, very good to us to allow us to come in there. So we kind of mixed that in, and then with Coach Long, there was a lot of stuff that
because he's really. I mean, that team he had at Millard South when they won the state championship. Yeah. Of course, quarterback was a heck of an athlete.
And I think they'll be pretty good. I mean, I
think they'll be back.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be in the thick of things with probably West and.
West Side's going to be
West Side's
really
going to be right because they returned a lot of people from last year's team.
Yes.
They made the finals last year.
And so we're kind of married those two. We really like Jet. We really like Power Lead. It took a lot of time because the biggest thing is we don't want to make it difficult for our linemen. We don't want to we don't want to have to say, okay, this is a zone scheme and this is a man scheme. So we kind of come up with rules. So if we have rules for plays, it doesn't matter what front they're in. It doesn't matter, if they're in a junk front or if they're odd or they're even. We have a set of rules, and that was the hardest thing to come up with. And
I'm sure because that's the whole key is mirroring those together.
Yes.
Your offensive line can't mirror. It doesn't matter what you do back there.
Exactly. So we had to marry some things together, which it's time.
That's interesting.
And but you just gotta love the ability to do both because you can't just do a little bit of mid dub and a little bit of mid trip and be good at it. And a lot of times you need different types of linemen to run spread, and we don't have those guys. But I like a lot of the running schemes that you're able to do. And so if we're in pistol and still running, the flex bone thing, I still can run 4 verts right away. And so you have to, honor the pass. And because we don't have old school flex bone where the wings are like turned in with their hand in the ground. They're set in receiver stances.
So you're setting the spread type set.
Yeah, yep. They look like they're receivers just off the tackle. So they're still lined up in the same place. They're just set up as receivers in receiver stances. And so we can go 4 verts right now. We can do jet right now. We can do, mid dub, mid trip. We can run, our zone. We already have that set up. And once you figure out the lineman rules, it actually doesn't marry that bad. You think that, you're either spread or you're flex bone. We've had a lot of, I think with the guys that we have, because we don't have the Class A guys where you just have athletes where you just like get them in space and give them the ball. Sometimes we're going to have to change it up a little bit. And so being flex bone allows us to, if we don't have, a certain type of runner,
right,
then we can, do different plays. And so you kind of have to have a menu and then pick out of the menu with what you got.
Right.
And that's
Depending
what we're
on your
able to do.
talent,
Right. And, we used to not have very many big linemen. Last year we started a tackle at 130 pounds.
No, you didn't.
I promise. And he was one of our best linemen.
No
just
kidding.
fired off the ball because, he could cut and he could fire off the ball and get to the second level. Yeah. And with, the veer and mid, you don't need to hold a block.
No, you don't. You just need to get away.
And you're not drive blocking anybody.
It's on there like that.
Just like that. And he was there were a lot of big defensive ends that were just annoyed by him, but then after and would throw him, and then he would get a personal foul on him because they were so annoyed by his little just being in the way, and they would always just be like, man, you work your tail off, and when you have an attitude like that, you're going to get something done. So
that's good.
We've been we still have some stuff to get done on offense, but we're on the right direction, and we finally have some upperclassmen coming up who've ran it.
Do you run the offense yourself, coach, or do you?
No. I have an offensive coordinator. Okay. I run the defense.
Okay, so you played defense.
Yeah, I played defense.
So you've always been more on the defensive side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
What kind of what's your philosophy on defense?
So
to match the offense.
Yeah. We run. It depends. If you're a purist of the 4-3, we don't run a 4-3, and if you're a purist of a 3-4, we don't run a 3-4. It's like we mixed them together. And again, it was something that we had to come up with for our guys. We kind of run, we call it a 4-3, but our alignments of our D linemen are more like a 3-4. And it works for what we're doing. And it's something that we've have long enough now that we have answers to everything. So they do this, we do that. So we look like we're in a 4-man front. All right, they change and have a tight end. Now we look like we're in a 5-man front, and it messes up a lot of things. And we know where our weaknesses are, and so we always practice our weaknesses because there's always weaknesses in every defense. So we just really, really, really hammer on the weaknesses. But we have 2 high safeties for the most part.
I know a lot of people kind of stay that just to protect for the tackling part of it.
Yep. And we do a lot of, we used to do where, outside linebacker or what we call our pin player would try to, force it inside. And we weren't ever big enough and we'd get kicked out. So now we kind of spill and force everything to sideline, and we want it to run horizontal, and we don't want them to go north and south. And we have, we have triggers, and we have, fillers, and we've had a lot of success with it. When we run it correctly, it looks good. It was kind of stolen from those Glacier clinics that you go to, and then 3 a.m. you're talking all this thing through, and then you say if this, and you draw it up against everything that you can see, and say, okay, what do we do now, and does it change anything, and if it does, how do we make it not? So it was a work in progress, and so it's something that is ours. We just had to steal it from a lot of people. And at Shadron, we ran. We always started the install with a 4-4.
Right, you
and
did.
We never ran 4-4. I mean, we were
depending on formation they ran.
There was I would think that one of our number 1 formations was a 3-3-5 when we were there with Coach Auer and Coach
because you're getting
Baines.
that spread look. It almost puts you in there.
Yep, with Colorado School of Mines, they're spread, and Carney was spread,
and he would move it, and he'd throw it all over the place.
Yeah.
And so would Carney too back then.
Yeah. So I have more background in the odd fronts, and I enjoy the odd fronts, but sometimes you don't have that 2-gap player that you
that
can
you
use.
need.
Yep. So we've had to do with what we can, but we always go back to kind of fundamentals. And I gotta say, it comes down to, are you going to run, are you going to fly around, and are you going to hit and tackle? If you're going to be physical and you're going to run around, good things are going to happen. You could do the wrong thing. We could have the wrong play called. We could have a wrong
defense.
Just fly around and be a good tackler, and a lot of good things are going to happen. So
how do you teach them to fly around? What do you use to teach them to fly around, gang tackle, good pursuit? Because that's where defense gets a lot of trouble sometimes too. They don't get the right pursuit angles. And it drove my DC nuts too, and I've seen all. I mean, because you try to get that. So, and if you can get them all in the right pursuit, it's amazing how long runs don't happen or long passes don't happen a lot of times.
Yep. We really, especially runs, we do a lot of fits. So we talk through run fits, and there's a lot of run fits that we work through, and we use that as a pursuit. And we do normal pursuit drill where we have 3 cones for our alley players. They're not going to pursue, they're going to run alley, and then these guys are going to do their job for backside CRB, and then once they know the play is gone, then they turn and sprint. So we do those. We also have a thing called tackling pursuit where you work on different everything's on a bag, but you work on different types of tackles. You work on a fill tackle, you work on a spill tackle, and so each group has their own kind of space thing that they're doing. So if they're going against a square bag, they have this kind of tackle. They're going against trapezoid, they're going at this kind of tackle. So we do all that. I watched Coach Fox on here, and he was talking about his corral. We do okay corral as well, because those jets and those tosses and things to the outside, we do the same thing. So I
think that's a good drill.
It's really, really good. So those are the things that we do for pursuit, and if you're running, if you're not running, then you got to come out and get a breather, because we need somebody who's going to run. Even if you got to come out every 3 plays, you got to come out, but we need somebody who's going to run. So,
I think that's important on defense, that sub and keeping people fresh.
Yep.
Especially early in the season with this, with the change of the heat here, especially everything like that. All right, kind of switch a little bit. What your schedule look like? I know you open with DC West. What does that look like, and as you in your games this year look like now?
Yeah, well, being in Eastern Nebraska, there's no such thing as an easy schedule. You know what I mean?
No, I don't.
And every coach is going to say that.
I think a lot of good football from Lincoln on here. Pretty damn good football.
I mean, Ashland's right here, and Wahoo's right here, and Plattview's right here, and those are just the big names that people know about. That doesn't, even talk about all the up and coming teams that have just been waiting and hiding, and have some kids coming up and are ready to really unleash. And so we last year we played 7 ranked teams, and it was rough. we played both BRLD and Oakland Craig because we were C2 last year, and those two were probably the two
you're
best
C1
teams.
this year.
Now we're C1, yep. So Oakland Craig and BRLD were phenomenal teams last year, and they're really, really well coached, and their coaches are really good guys. But we played 7 ranked teams last year, and that's tough. And we're coming up, and I think we'll play somewhere between 3 or 4 ranked teams. So
Is
at
DC
least
West ranked?
Nope. I think the teams that Wahoo and Ashland will for sure be ranked, but Platteview has a good chance, and even Neb City, and so we're going to play a good schedule, and we're going to see the good teams, and that's good. You want to, you shouldn't shy away. You want to see where you're at, in a measuring stick, but there's at least we're not playing 7 ranked teams, and we knew going into we were playing 7 ranked teams, so that makes it a little bit tougher, but we're having a more favorable schedule than that, so we're going to have there's going to be a lot of toss-ups.
How does DCS West look, you think?
They have some really good athletes. They have a 285-pound runner-up that's coming back, and he's a really good athlete. I saw him wrestle last year when I went to DC West to watch our guys wrestle. And then they have a quarterback who's a really good athlete. And Coach Troy there is turning everything around just like we are.
Yeah,
and he just got there from Platteview because he's an alumni.
Right.
And really, really working on the things that matter. Sometimes it takes 3, 4, 5 years when you're working on the things that matter. It's going to happen.
Right.
It just needs time, and he's there. He's there for a reason. He's an alumni. He's willing to fight to make that change, and he's a really, really good guy. And so it's going to be a fun game with him. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now is it home or away?
We get it at home. Yep, we get it at home. I don't know if that's much of an advantage this year.
Well,
with everything that's going on.
What is your I know I talked to Elkhorn South this weekend. They're playing Millard West Thursday at Buell, and he said each kid gets 4 people into the ball game, family members.
Yep, that's what we have to.
Is that what they're doing?
Yep,
I didn't know because it goes county by county.
It does. Oh, it goes.
So I don't know how it was different in your county.
That's exactly what we're doing. Every kid gets 4 tickets, and they're going to use those 4 tickets all year long. So they have to keep a hold of them. Their mom.
So they're not going to
to
adjust it at all, huh?
Nope. So they each get 4. So whoever which one of they can give them to different people, or if they don't have 4 people, they could give them away. But each player gets 4 people. So
is that statewide? I mean, I can't believe it'd be that way in Western Nebraska.
No, I would be surprised. But I think just each health district is kind of helping them guide those. But I think once one school kind of does one thing, they're like, oh, well, let's do that. It's kind of easier to follow that.
Now, would Lincoln do that way too in the state championship? As big as that place is, because it's hard to.
I don't know. What they did at what they did for basketball. They might do something similar for.
What they do? Do you remember?
I think there was just households or family members, or you had to have
because that stadium's huge. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah,
I mean, even Class A is in there, they don't fill it.
Right? No.
And that's 91,000 people there. Unless Nebraska's there, it's hard to fill
that
thing.
It's really hard to.
I mean, that's a lot of cats now.
Yes,
it is.
91,000,
a lot of people.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk. How many seniors you got on your team this year?
We have. Well, we've lost a couple due to injury just in the past couple of weeks. We have 9. And some of them have worked their tails off for 4 years to get to this point. So I really, really hope we have a season because, I have some guys who have seen special team action or limited action here and there, and that are probably going to play a significant role for us. And so you just really want, things like that to work out for those kids and give them the right to play that they've earned, working for 4 years.
Because they've been there for 4 years for you.
Yeah. And, didn't bat an eye and if they were picked over, then they kept coming and fighting back, and now it's their turn. And so, I really hope that we get to play for them. We unfortunately lost a couple seniors to accident and unfortunate events, and so that hurts because that they already lost their senior year. But we do have a good 9 in the senior class. I think we have around 16 in the junior class, and they're
good.
Yep, and they're athletic and they fight hard. But so I think if everything works out, we'll be a team to be reckoned with, and they want it. So hopefully we can live up to that.
Do you want to name any of your top seniors?
Well, so we're gonna have a lot of them that come back to play, but Caleb Rabick has been a 3-year starter for us at center and on the defensive line. We lost Cordell Moxie to an injury. He had an unfortunate event and he's out. We lost one in an accident this last weekend, Mason Crowell, and he's a very good athlete, and it's too bad that something like that has to take the season away. The people who have been working for 4 years, I definitely want to give them a shout out. Zach Hillebrand was a special teamer at most, and is now working into a role to start. Gavin Hudson is the same way, working to start, and they definitely have earned that. We have had a returning nose guard, Tabor Ehlers, who started last year for games but has really come into his own just in the last year. Really is fighting for it, and I'm sure I'm going to leave people out, but it's going to happen.
It's
but
hard when I
with,
put
with
you on the
9
spot.
of them. But Cody Gray had started for us for a few years, and he's back. I'm trying to think down my list. I know I'm missing some, but not meaning to, guys. So I'm sorry.
That's cool.
But they're a good group, and they've been working hard, and
They've been with you from the beginning.
Yeah.
These guys have. I mean, this is when they were freshmen when you were first year. That's kind of cool.
Yep, and they're a good group, and I've enjoyed having them, and it's too bad that a couple of them had to miss this season.
You always hate that, especially for seniors.
Yeah.
You really do. But I really liked having you here today, Coach.
I've heard of
I'm
you,
sorry,
and
I'm
I
just
knew you were there.
Coach.
Your ear off,
that's what this is for. This is for you and your program, it ain't
Okay.
for me. But it's great to have you here. I knew that you were there at Louisville, and I did not realize you played at Chadron. That's really cool as heck. Because those guys are good friends of mine. All of them.
they're good,
and they're
guys.
good people.
Yep.
And a lot of it's amazing how the world of football.
Yeah, it's a small community.
It's a community, and Danny Woodhouse, I remember watching him in high school, so it's kind of cool. I really appreciate your time today,
Well, I appreciate you having me.
and I wish you a ton of luck.
Thank you.
You know, I was a wrestler,
Yes.
so we gotta close the show with the
Dave
hush.
Sullivan.
Yeah, that's right, baby. Here we go. This is all for food or money, not necessarily in that order. You ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Hush, hush, hush. Father of the week of Ballin. We'll see you next week. Hush.